What's up, Los Angeles? God, I love living in the bastion of democracy, the bastion of resistance against Trumpism. LA, let's hear it! Beautiful. Now, I'm sure that you've seen the panic, the overwhelming panic from Republicans about today. But do you know why they hate what we're doing here and what we're doing in 2,500 other cities across America and across the world? Because here, their pressure does not work. Because we're not a law firm that can be bought off. We are not a university that can be bought off. We're not a tech CEO that can be bought off. We are not a media outlet that can be bought off. They hate what we're doing here because you cannot buy off millions upon millions of people taking to the streets. Because we are not leveraged by the federal government. We can't be cowed into submission because of some sick obsession with money or proximity to power. Because millions of people taking to the streets right now destroys the optics that Donald Trump has total control. So do me a favor, take a look at the people around you. Does this look right here like Donald Trump has total control? No! That right there is why he and his party are so desperate to shame you for being here. That is why they're so desperate to rebrand this thing as a Hate America rally. But you know what hating America looks like? Hating America looks like screwing over farmers and bailing out Argentina instead. It looks like sending secret police accountable to no one into our cities. It looks like silencing comedians for the crime of making fun of dear leader. It looks like gifting yourself a $400 million jet from Qatar. It looks like building a $200 million ballroom to assuage your fragile ego while 40 million Americans are living in poverty. It looks like blocking the release of the Epstein files. Like stripping away Medicaid from 17 million Americans. It looks like right now keeping the government closed because you are so fucking hellbent on stripping away healthcare from 24 million Americans and trying to get their costs to double, triple, or quadruple. So if you're looking for the Hate America rally, might I suggest the White House? We are here not because we hate America, but expressly because we love it. Because we know that this is a country worth fighting for. This is a country worth saving. We are here because we know that this could be a country where everybody has health care. Where we take our obligation to tackle climate change seriously. Where we protect our seniors by protecting Social Security. A country where there are not two tiers of justice, one for Republican politicians and another for everybody else. A country where we fight to defend what is now the world's oldest continuous democracy, and despite Trump's best efforts, will continue to be the world's oldest continuous democracy. A democracy where the people rule and not kings. So I have one more request here. If any of you who are marching today see any agitators, do not engage. Do not give this administration any reason to do what they are so desperate to do, which is to engage in violence to justify these troop deployments across the country. We all have a role to play here, so thank you. Everybody be safe. And one last thing. Fuck Donald Trump! Fuck Donald Trump! Fuck Donald Trump! Thank you, everybody. That was earlier today at the No Kings protest in downtown LA. I was joined by tens of thousands of protesters in Los Angeles who took to the streets to make their voices heard in what ultimately became the largest protest in American history, with over 7 million Americans in 2,700 cities and communities across the country. What makes the turnout even more impressive is that many people came out despite the looming threats of violence, both organic as the result of this political climate and inorganic at the hands of a president who has been haphazardly deploying troops wherever he can. There was particular concern that he would use any violence whatsoever as a pretext to be able to invoke the Insurrection Act and turn our troops against American citizens, given the ease with which he's already deployed our military into Los Angeles, Portland, and Chicago, despite there being no justification whatsoever to do so. And look, if you watch my content, you know that I rarely, if ever, make these videos about me, but even I personally was worried about going out and being on stage publicly in a world where just a month ago we watched as a political commentator got assassinated. I had friends and family urging me not to go, and I understand why, and so I was considering not going for that very reason, but I weighed that against what it would mean to not go, to allow myself to be cowed into silence by bad faith actors who want nothing more than to take my voice away, to make me feel too afraid to be out in public for fear of someone committing an act of violence. And look, I could have stayed home and continued to make content and reach plenty of people, but it's not about that. It is about getting out into the streets and doing my part to be one of the more than 7 million Americans who marched today. And I felt personally like it was important to do that, even with the heightened risk of being a political commentator out in public and with the heightened risk of a president who is chomping at the bit to escalate tensions because he is looking for any excuse to deploy the military against Americans. And frankly, I'm glad I did go. So to that point, I want to say thank you to everybody who came out, not just for standing in solidarity with so many people who needed to know that we're not alone, but for also doing it peacefully, for sending a message to the right that we will not be goaded into violence, for pushing back on this ridiculous Republican narrative that the left is dangerous or traffics in violence, and personally for helping somebody like me who's been left pretty spooked in the aftermath of the Charlie Kirk shooting of going into public events or going into public spaces. Being at the No Kings protest restored some faith in humanity that we can make our voices heard without compromising our safety. And finally, a message to Trump voters out there who have spent the last week being conned by your elected officials that the left is some violent cabal looking to seek vengeance on cities or Republicans or police or each other. I hope there comes a point where you recognize that the left is not your enemy. Your enemy is a political party, elected officials that need to rely on demagoguery to distract you because their agenda is too unpopular to stand on its own. At some point, I hope you can see that the problem here is not the left. It is the wealthy politicians and their donors who sick the working class on itself so that no one sees the con being perpetuated at the top. Hopefully, the events of today bring you all a little closer to that reality. Before you go, if you enjoyed this content and you want to see more and support independent media, please subscribe to this channel. The subscribe button will be right here on the screen. But second, the reality is that we are now in a political environment where this administration can lean on any of the social media platforms to suppress certain voices if they don't like critical coverage. That means my longevity here is in the hands of a few tech billionaires who are already making it clear that they are willing to cater to this administration. To that end, signing up for my newsletter is a way for me to reach you directly if that ever becomes necessary. I'll put the link right here on the screen as well, so please sign up. It's free, but there's also an option to do a paid subscription if you'd like to support me and my team. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much for watching.